Hello, Internet. This is BoneCarlos coming to you live from Tal'Darim Altar to bring you another StarCraft 2 commentary. This was actually a little bit special since I have a buddy joining me. His name is I Big and Scary from r/Cast. How you doing there, bud?
I am living large, life on the edge here on Tal'Darim Altar, and I'm incredibly thankful that you pointed that out because my strong suit, map names. I'll tell you right now.
There you go. I do what I can. I do what I can. And I wish I was recording earlier, but you did a great rendition of A Whole New World by Aladdin. Any chance we could hear that again, sir?
No,
No?
absolutely not.
No? Okay.
There's no chance. That has been banished to the dark nether realms of
Well,
Tal'Darim.
people listening out there right now, it was actually sounded like, not like Aladdin, but it sounded like Jasmine.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go ahead and say that. But
there's a
anyway,
funny story about that.
we'll save that for a second co-cast. Today, we're gonna be casting one of my own games just because I'm narcissistic like that, and it's going to be my opponent is going to be Frdas, and he's going to be the Blue Zerg, and we're spawning, I would say, close position by ground. Nothing too crazy. Everyone knows Tal'Darim Altar. I'm not going to go into specifics on that because we're just having fun, right?
Absolutely. And Tal'Darim Altar is one of those maps that really makes you have fun. It's basically there's no way not to have fun. It's got all these different quirks to it, all these different hidden pathways from one base to another. And if you're not in the mood to have fun, it kind of slaps you in the face.
Oh yeah, definitely. If you're not ready, like I said, it's definitely true. If you're not ready to do something quirky, something strange, if you want to do something basic and straightforward, all of a sudden you see a pylon in your base, a Nidus Worm here, cloaked banshees there, and it's just have fun on this map.
Absolutely. And straightforward. It's funny that you mentioned that we have the 15 pool coming out of Frdas and the Forge Fast expand from you. And what exactly are you hoping for as you get your probe into the main base for Frdas just to see that early expansion coming down from him?
Well, generally when I try to do a Forge Fast expand and I start scouting with that initial probe, I look see if he has any Vespin geysers up. First and foremost, and then check to see its expansion and when that goes down. It went down, and then obviously for the spawning pool, I saw the spawning pool down. I saw the hatchery down, but I didn't see any Vespin geysers, so I assumed that there wasn't going to be anything too crazy coming my way, which is why I put down the Nexus first.
Absolutely. And that first Vespine geyser taken, a lot of people don't realize that that's one drone out of the picture, but then it's also another three that aren't harvesting minerals, and those translate directly into the number of Zerglings that are out on the field. And on my end, I can see 8 Zerglings out, 2 of which are heading for your front door just to poke a little bit of pressure. But with that photon cannon coming out, you're not going to have much of a problem dealing with that aggression.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and this is actually what happens. He did a little bit of a quirky play. He sent out a stream of Zerglings, and I was just caught off guard. I did catch that his first drone managed to kill it off, which is why I screamed out first blood. I was just having fun.
Yeah,
And then
saw
I
that.
noticed that the cannon got that 2 kills on that Zergling, and then I thought I was okay. And then I clicked back, and I noticed, oh, look at that. I got Zerglings in my base, and then I just tried to do the basic, double assimilator, getting the gas.
Right.
And I kind of selected all my probes here. Kind of a bit of a mistake. I thought there was going to be more Zerglings than the 3 that were in my base. So that's when I just started splitting off my probes and just kind of doing this little cheeky shenanigans back and forth action kind of going on with these Zerglings.
Well, sure. I mean, anytime you have enemy units in your base, anytime they bypass that wall, the protection that you're supposed to have from the photon cannon is bypassed. You've got to react quickly, and you've got to pull your drone or your probes because you have to assume that there's more Zerglings or even Banelings on the way. And then once you see that the threat really isn't that bad, now you're reacting appropriately with only a handful of probes to keep those Zerglings at bay while your mining continues.
Yeah,
And yeah, oh, sorry.
no,
Go
yeah,
ahead.
and exactly. And then here, this is especially if anybody that's watching from lower level play. I mean, I'm platinum, so I'm not the greatest, but still not to overreact. I'm switching pros back and forth, making sure the ones that don't have shields are back to mining, taking another 3 or 4, and then putting them back into attack.
Right. And it's also important to keep in mind that Frdas, on the back of this, isn't doubling down on his Zergling production. He's not trying to capitalize, even though there is that large gap in your wall, to try to continue slip through Zerglings in there. He's saturating his natural. He's got actually pretty good saturation there. And he's getting that Roach Warren up, even though he only has 1 gas on the way at this time.
Yeah, and exactly. And then actually when I uploaded this to rcast it, While the whole shenanigans with those three Zerglings were in my base, I noticed that he was microing them pretty effectively. I mean, he was pulling them back exactly, so made me know. I knew right away off the bat that he was focusing on these Zerglings. I figured he wouldn't be building too much back at his base, and if you notice, I actually now finally realize my probe is still in his base, and I'm actually moving it behind his main expansion, and I just hide it there
Oh, I see that.
for just a second. I finally, once I killed off those Zerglings, I was just like, what happened to my initial probe? Is that still up? Noticed it was still down there. Hit it, and then as soon as I saw that it wasn't being killed yet, I immediately went into those 6, 7, 8 gates, because generally I either go into Stargate or Robotech. But if he hasn't noticed my probe yet, I'm just going to mass up those gateways, get up my warp gate, get a pylon back there, and then just try to sandwich him within two forces.
Awesome, and that's sort of capitalization on a very small difference in play that can really just win you the game straight outright, because the roaches are going to be in a different position. He's getting that Hatra, the macro hatch up right now off of a 2 base, so he's playing kind of for aggression in 3 minutes time. But with your warp gate already finished and you have 3 more gateways coming out, once that pylon finishes in his main base, you're going to be in a fantastic position to do some aggression right before he will be ready to actually push you.
Exactly, and then generally the build order currently, well, I don't know, I might be a month or two behind, but when your opponent Forge Fast expands, you want to do a 12-minute Roach Max Army, which is pretty popular among Zerg. So you generally want to hit before that, around the 9-10 minute mark. Obviously, with those Zerglings on my base, my build was a little bit back, a little bit behind, but I still feel fairly confident knowing that he's more than likely not going to hit 12 minutes, more than likely 13, 14. So I'm going to push out with my forces as soon as that warp gate finishes up, get a nice sizable force up front at my front of my base, and then push forward, and then while he's distracted, plop down a pylon behind his base. So that way he's just forced to choose where and when he engages my army. And two forces converging on one location, something's got to give. And even if you don't completely win the game outright, you're going to do enough economic damage to give you a pretty easy game to win.
Sure, and it comes back to what you were talking about earlier about how he was focusing on those Zerglings and how that takes APM away from him focusing back on his base to macro up. And by forcing him to engage out in the common ground, and you can see he's amassing his units up by the Zelnaga Watchtower on the left side. As you move off, you're going to kind of split his APM back away from home.
Yeah, and this generally right here is just, I'm just trying to get his attention. Exactly, get his attention on this army. And right now my army's on a move. I just put down that pylon behind his base. I'm trying to save as much units as I can at this main engagement now, but basically what I'm just trying to do is buy myself some time, get his attention on the front, maybe put down a couple more spine crawlers at the front, which is what he's doing at the moment, while I slip in zealots behind him.
Gotcha. And a really important play that you did is keep those sentries alive. You had 4 at the beginning of that, and all of them were positioned at the very back of your army. They kind of wedged themselves between the Zelnaga, and I don't know if that's just because 1A is fantastic and it protects those sentries, or if that was something you actually meant to do. But those sentries are really just the lifeblood of the Protoss army.
Yeah, and that's very true. You just want to keep an eye on one of the backbone of your army. And right now we just have a huge, pretty much engagement back and forth between both players. I'm looking at the workers kill count. I've already gotten 9 workers killed off of them, and even though my main attack is being pushed back at the front, I still got units in the back. I tried to attack the Vespin guys with the assimilator. Since right now I'm just trying to hurt him macro wise as much as possible. Once I know that, hey, you know what, this attack is done, I just pretty much just sack the rest of my forces, kind of try to do as much damage as I can, while still just being cost effective. But right now I'm in a great place. He's only mining from 1 base. I got 2 up. And I'm just going to go ahead and take my 3rd and just macro up and just win that way.
Now, why did you elect to warp in stalkers in the base instead of a secondary wave of zealots?
Since the placement of his buildings, from what I saw, the placement of his buildings, it's going to be hard for him to overrun me. I kind of messed up a little bit, but the first wave of zealots will just pretty much cause a block off. Second wave of stalkers will be able to pick them off at a distance. So that means the roaches won't get into the stalkers. Zerglings will be harder to run by. That's generally why I did that.
And then the focusing down of the Evo chamber, was that a specific decision that you made, or was that just a target of
Just a
opportunity?
target of opportunity. I saw the Evo Chamber. I mean, a spawning pool is great to take down. Roach Warren, yes, maybe, but an Evo Chamber that just delays his upgrades for that much longer. And
Absolutely.
since I already put a forge down, I mean, I'm already on 1-1 attack armor.
Sure.
Yeah,
And he's got 400 gas right now. I'm sure he's hoping that he could spend that on an
ex-
upgrade rather than have to get up two Evo chambers
and
right now.
exactly. That's just. I mean, one, it was an opportunity, but I could have taken down any three of those buildings. I just chose the Evo Chambers, so I felt that I was already ahead.
Hmm. Absolutely. And I see you're teching towards the Colossi. Was there a reason for that over, getting more immortals? I see you have one up in your main army right now.
Generally, because I felt so far ahead. I mean, I took down his extractor and the initial engagement.
Sure.
Even if he only had three, I didn't think he could mass up enough corruptor count to be able to take down all of these colossi, which is why I went straight for Colossus. Generally, I go immortal. I go with really immortal heavy. I've uploaded actually another replay for Arcast it where I think I had an 11 immortals up against the Zerg player, and they just
Awesome.
the Roach army was ridiculous. It was pretty much immortal zealot, and they tore through it. But that I didn't do the economic damage early on in that game, which is
Sure.
why I went mortal. But in this game, I'm just like, I feel really great. I feel really secure. I'm just gonna go ahead and go straight Colossus.
Yeah, and you can actually see that economic damage. The gas, the excess gas that Frdas has, he's spending it on all these upgrades that really aren't going to be in coming in handy right away. The centrifugal hooks and the pneumatized or the ventral sacks are incredibly of note that they're not going to be handy right away. Maybe he's thinking about a Baneling drop on the Colossus ball, but that's not something that's going to help him right away. An upgrade definitely could have, but he's feeling kind of cramped because he doesn't have that third base up and running. We're at the 16-minute mark, and that's what Zerg should
Yeah,
have.
exactly. And he's actually, and then I noticed that he went Hydralisk, which is also, I think, a knee-jerk reaction to having that excess gas.
Sure.
I hardly ever see a Hydralisk in, a PVZ. I hardly ever.
Yeah, sometimes you see that Roach Hydra build, but it's usually whenever the Zerg has it in their mind that they really want to lose because for the life of me, I can't figure out how to make that build work. It's so vulnerable to so many different things, and it relies so much on superior creep spread, which we really don't see out of Frdas because he spent so much time reeling from his failed aggression in the start and then your aggression in the
Yeah,
mid game.
and right now I'm just feeling very confident. I feel like I mean, I felt like I had this game in the bag about 5 minutes ago, but it being
Right.
StarCraft 2, you never want to say, "Oh, I'm just gonna go ahead and cruise," because then you lose, you know. So that's why I took the third up. I'm
Yeah.
still playing pretty safe. I'm not gonna throw my army away, and I'm just gonna go ahead and just kind of put it into second gear and just make sure I know exactly what my opponent is doing. I know his third is barely up. I mean, and it's going to be the 18-minute mark. He doesn't have any drones on the third. 18 minutes, no drone third for a Zerg. Come on. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's definitely feeling the hurt, and it looks like he's getting increasingly desperate. He's got two overlords heading up to maybe your natural to drop off a bunch of Zerglings. No Banelings in those, just
Yeah, and
Zerglings.
yeah, he actually
Uh,
does drop it off. He manages to get a couple. I think he manages to kill one pylon, but I was lucky in the fact that my army management was a little bit off, and I managed to keep a colossi in that base just randomly. So
oh,
yeah, the
nice.
colossi was there. It worked out for me. Sometimes you got to be lucky in these games, and
Sure.
it happened. But generally, this is what Frdas is doing is a great play. I mean, he's attacking up the front, but he's still trying to buy himself some time by doing some drops. And when you're behind, that's generally what you want to do. You want to harass, you want to do some drops, you want to try to claw yourself back into this game. Unfortunately, you couldn't do it in this game, but I've seen it happen where an opponent feels like he's winning, but with great harassment, great run bys, especially by speedlings, he actually won the game and actually casted a game not too long ago like that.
Well, yeah, and I mean that drop can have mixed results. Instead of focusing on that pylon and these zealots, I'm sure those Zerglings could have been more effective by focusing on the Robo Bay or maybe even just the Robo facility to cancel those two colossi that you have constructing
Yeah,
right
and
now.
exactly. He could just run by, just or even just for scout to see exactly what's going on, and then just picking and choosing his times to attack. But at the moment, he's just he's up against a rock, essentially.
Right. And I mean, he's doing a pretty smart idea right now, is grabbing that extra kind of desperate expansion, but the engagement that he had in the middle really did not do him any favors. You can look at the units lost tab and see that he's down almost
Oh,
3K.
yeah.
And he just doesn't have the army to hold you back, let alone take an expansion for himself. So he's really exposing himself here, and he's got no money to re-macro. He's behind by too much.
And that's just pretty much what I said when I uploaded this replay. I mean, just focusing too much on micro, you miss little things. I mean, missing a pylon in the back of your base, that was pretty huge. And right now, that's pretty much it. That was it for this game. Yeah. So, yeah.
And if you hadn't taken down that gas, I imagine that he would have had a Spire or something, some Corruptor count to take out these Colossi.
And that's just generally what I just wanted to stay away from, because once the Corruptors, Broodlords, it turns into a really different game from that point out.
Well, I enjoyed myself. I hope you enjoyed yourself.
I generally do enjoy myself quite a bit. But yeah, so that was it for this replay. I hope everyone listening enjoyed it. I'm just going to go ahead and link your page down below, so everyone that's listening from my page or my channel, go ahead and check out I Big and Scary. He isn't that big and scary. He's about as big and scary as a teddy bear, but that's...
No, I'm rather minute. I'm rather minute.
You ruined the mystique, bro. What are you doing? Come on. Anyways, that is it. We are out of here.